price level of $100 per ounce is presented not as a simple numerical milestone, but as a threshold that carries systemic implications for the silver market. At this level, the discussion shifts away from ordinary price movement and toward institutional stress. The focus is no longer on whether silver is expensive or cheap, but on whether existing financial structures can withstand the consequences of such a valuation. Within this framework, attention centers on two large bullion banks whose positions are described as uniquely exposed to rising prices. Their vulnerability is not framed as a matter of short-term trading losses, but as a function of scale. The larger the position against the market, the more sensitive it becomes to incremental price changes, and the more rapidly losses can compound as prices move higher. The threshold of $100, therefore, becomes a point of inflection. Below it, losses may remain manageable within the normal risk parameters of large institutions. At or above it, the same positions begin to exert pressure on balance sheets in a way that can no longer be treated as routine volatility. This is why the discussion does not present the level as symbolic. It is described as operational. It is the price at which margin requirements, liquidity constraints, and capital adequacy intersect, forcing reassessment of exposures that were previously tolerated. The concern is not framed in terms of inevitability, but in terms of conditional risk. If silver advances into this range, the existing structure of the short side of the market becomes a point of systemic attention rather than a background feature of trading. In this sense, the price of silver is not merely reflecting market sentiment. It is testing the resilience of institutions that have positioned themselves on the assumption that such levels would not be sustained. The scale of the exposure at the center of this concern is attributed to an assessment shared by an analyst on the X platform. According to this claim, the combined short positions held by the two banks amount to approximately 4.4 billion ounces of silver. This figure is presented not in isolation, but in direct comparison to the size of the global silver supply. The magnitude is described as more than 5 times the annual global mine production. Framed in these terms, the positions are no longer perceived as conventional hedges or routine speculative bets. They represent, instead, an extraordinary concentration of downside exposure tied to a single commodity. Such a concentration carries inherent risk. As prices rise, the notional liability associated with these contracts expands proportionally. The higher the market moves, the larger the financial obligation required to maintain the positions, whether through variation margin, collateral, or loss realization. The argument advanced is that positions of this size reduce the margin for error. Even modest upward price movements can generate significant financial strain when applied across billions of ounces. The exposure is therefore not merely large, but highly sensitive to directional change. This is why the analyst's comparison to global mine supply is central to the narrative. It emphasizes the disconnect between the scale of financial claims and the scale of underlying physical production. The market, in this framing, is carrying more promises than the system can comfortably absorb if prices move against the short side. The result is a structure that appears stable under flat conditions, but increasingly fragile as the price environment shifts upward. Within that aggregate figure, the exposure is attributed unevenly between the two institutions. The positions are described as concentrated at Bank of America and Citigroup, each holding substantial short commitments in silver futures. Bank of America is cited as carrying approximately 1 billion ounces of short exposure. Citigroup is described as holding an even larger position, estimated at roughly 3.4 billion ounces. Both positions are framed as directional bets against rising silver prices. The characterization is not of incidental market making, but of sustained positioning that benefits from price weakness and incurs losses as prices strengthen. In this structure, gains and losses are asymmetric. Downward moves provide incremental relief, while upward moves impose accelerating financial pressure. The combined effect is a high degree of concentration risk. The performance of these positions becomes increasingly tied to a single variable, the direction of the silver price. As that price approaches higher thresholds, the sensitivity of the bank's financial outcomes intensifies. This concentration also has implications beyond the institutions themselves. Because of the scale involved, adjustments to these positions can influence market liquidity and price behavior, reinforcing feedback loops between institutional risk management and broader market dynamics. The narrative therefore frames these exposures not as isolated balance sheet items, but as structural features of the current silver market environment. As the price of silver advances, the financial impact of these positions expands rapidly. The exposure is not linear in its consequences. Each incremental increase in price raises the notional value of the obligation embedded in the short contracts, intensifying the strain on capital and liquidity. This is the basis for the claim that the positions could threaten institutional stability if silver continues to rise. The concern is not limited to mark-to-market losses. It extends to the operational demands imposed by margining systems, collateral requirements, and the need to maintain confidence in the institution's ability to meet their obligations. The speaker in this video does not assert that collapse is inevitable. Rather, the point is that the scale of the liability creates a zone of elevated risk. Within this zone, adverse price movement can force defensive actions, asset sales, or position adjustments that would not be required under more moderate exposure. At the $100 level, this risk is described as becoming acute. The short positions transition from being manageable exposures to potential sources of systemic stress. The institutions are no longer merely participating in the market. They are being tested by it. The distinction is important. It frames the scenario not as a prediction of failure, but as a recognition of vulnerability. Stability depends on the price remaining within a range that the current structure can absorb. If that range is exceeded, the financial and operational consequences become significantly more difficult to contain. An additional layer of the narrative centers on the interpretation of recent price behavior. The analyst cited in the discussion characterizes the rapid drops and subsequent pumps in silver as evidence of market manipulation. These movements are viewed not as random volatility, but as deliberate actions intended to protect large short positions. Within this interpretation, sudden downward moves are seen as mechanisms to relieve pressure, trigger liquidation of opposing positions, and reduce the immediate financial burden on those holding extensive shorts. The subsequent rebounds are framed as temporary adjustments rather than organic trend reversals. The implication is that volatility itself becomes a tool. Price is not merely discovered, but influenced in ways that serve the interests of heavily exposed institutions. The market, in this view, is being actively managed to prevent the conditions under which short positions would become untenable. This allegation does not require proof of coordination to be influential. Its significance lies in how it shapes perception. If participants believe that price behavior is being guided to protect specific exposures, confidence in the neutrality of the market is weakened. Such perception can alter behavior, encouraging defensive positioning, skepticism toward price signals, and increased emphasis on the distinction between financial contracts and underlying metal. In this context, volatility is not only a risk factor, it becomes part of the strategic environment in which institutional positions are maintained. The most severe scenario outlined in the discussion is tied to a decisive move through the $100 level. According to the analyst's view, such a break would not merely represent a continuation of the trend, but a trigger for structural stress. At this point, margin requirements would rise materially, and the capital needed to sustain large short positions could expand beyond what is readily deployable. The process of meeting these demands could force liquidation, either of the silver positions themselves or of other assets used to support them. In this framing, the risk is not only to profitability, but to solvency. Margin calls are mechanical, not discretionary. If obligations cannot be met, positions are closed by force, regardless of strategic intent. The speaker, however, introduces a note of caution. While acknowledging the severity of this scenario, the speaker does not accept that collapse is certain. Large institutions possess multiple tools to manage stress, and the existence of pressure does not guarantee failure. The tension between these perspectives is central to the narrative. One emphasizes the mathematical consequences of extreme exposure. The other emphasizes institutional resilience. The $100 level thus stands as a contested boundary between manageable risk and systemic threat. Beyond the futures market, the discussion turns to conditions in the physical silver market. Here, the emphasis is on a growing preference for tangible metal over financial promises. Demand for physical silver is described as increasing, while reliance on paper contracts is being questioned. This shift alters the balance between availability and obligation, particularly in environments where delivery and settlement become more costly. One manifestation of this stress is backwardation, a condition in which near-term prices exceed those for later delivery. This structure reflects immediate demand for metal and a premium placed on prompt access. At the same time, the cost to borrow physical silver is described as rising. This indicates tighter conditions in the lending market and greater difficulty in sourcing metal to meet short-term needs. Together, these factors suggest that the physical side of the market is experiencing pressure that is not fully captured by futures prices alone. The distinction between financial exposure and material availability becomes increasingly important. In such a setting, large short positions are not only exposed to price risk, but also to the dynamics of delivery and settlement, which can compound financial stress. The final layer of the analysis introduces an additional projection offered by another analyst, Bob Coleman. His view centers not on the probability of reaching $100, but on what may follow if the price approaches that region. According to this perspective, a move to $93 would represent a point of no return. From there, the market would be unlikely to stall at 100. Instead, the structure of short exposure could produce a discontinuous adjustment, with prices potentially gapping sharply higher. The figure cited in this scenario is $150 per ounce. This outcome is linked to the possibility that a major short position could declare force majeure, effectively defaulting on its obligations. In this framing, the price movement is not gradual. It is driven by the sudden recognition that existing commitments cannot be honored under prevailing conditions. The implication is that the path of the market matters as much as the destination. Once critical thresholds are crossed, the adjustment process may become abrupt and disorderly.